remember being a freshman in high school and starting to regularly read the newspaper, read The Economist. I found economics like this incredibly powerful framework for thinking about policy. The economic theory helped me cut through sort of the talking points and understand the basic trade-offs, the unintended consequences. The empirical evidence that economists were bringing to debates I found much more persuasive than some of sort of the anecdotal evidence that you'd see coming from other domains. Yeah, that's when I got the bug, I think. I came to Stanford for a PhD in economics. In what should have been my fifth year of my PhD, Obama was elected. I was studying healthcare and got an opportunity to go to DC. So I spent a year in DC working on healthcare reform, procurement, government personnel policy, and loved it. But also, I think that was when I started to come to this realization that the right path for me, there's a complementarity between sort of the fast-moving, boots-on-the-ground world of policymaking in DC and the perspective and depth that you can approach an issue with as an academic. Is the income variable? I'm an applied microeconomist with an interest in the US healthcare sector and in consumer financial markets. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the translation of academic research to policy. It's fine that academics do what they do and policymakers do what they do, but I think it's very important that for the issues of the day, that somebody who knows those issues and someone who knows the academic literature can connect those two bodies. And it's coming back to the academic community and saying, here are issues where we're going to have to make difficult decisions. If we can build out evidence that will inform those decisions, then over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, we'll be able to shift the narrative, we'll be able to inform thinking. It's a two-way street, and I'm trying to help the information flows in both directions. I got a call from the White House in winter of 2022, seeing if I wanted to join the NEC. Public service, I think, is the highest calling. And so between June 2022 and June 2023, I was working in the National Economic Council with the title Special Policy Advisor for Economic Policy. I worked on probably more than half a dozen work streams, from energy to competition to consumer protection. Everything is done by teams. Whenever the economic alarm bells started ringing, right, we were the people who were, like sort of the firefighters who were rushing towards, the economic issue, trying to understand it. What were the stakes for the U.S. people, and what were the policy options for the president and the cabinet to consider. If we were thinking about solutions, we would, want to get feedback on those from the smartest people we could talk to. An awesome feature about being at the White House is you can send an email to pretty much anybody on planet Earth, and they will respond within 15 minutes, and you can be on the phone with them that afternoon. That is really cool. And then, our job is to try and filter that information and present that to the president or principals in a way that they can digest and act on. What I tried to do was make sure that the people who were deciding understood the economics of the issue. What I really appreciate and value about SIEPR is how they're trying to strengthen this connection between the academic world and the policy world, trying to provide opportunities, connections for the phenomenal Stanford undergrads and grad students to work in Washington, D.C. A second example is taking Stanford researchers who are working on policy-relevant topics and working to make sure that their research is being seen. And I think the third function is sort of the great convening power of SIEPR, right, as the hub for economic policy thought on the West Coast. When I think about my time at the National Economic Council, you're working with incredibly smart people. If the problem reaches the level of the White House, it means it's on the front pages of the Wall Street Journal, of the New York Times. You were working on the most difficult, consequential problems in this country and often in the world. And so being able to try and communicate what is the promise and what is the risk of different policy in a way that the president and cabinet members can understand and try and shift things in a positive direction. It's something that I will look back at. Hopefully I did a good job, but it's something that I think is hugely important.